Welcome into Warchant TV. This is Ira Schoffel, managing editor of Warchant.com, and I'm joined here today by a guy with many titles, David Johnson, who is Florida State's running backs coach, also the recruiting coordinator. He's a former assistant coach at schools like Tennessee and Tulane and Memphis and other schools, and also former high school head coach at St. Augustine in New Orleans, was a longtime coach there as well. But right now he's got a new title to his list as an author. David Johnson has a new book out, so that's one of the big things we're going to talk about today. Thanks a lot, Coach. Oh, one more title, Coach YAC. That's how most people know him.
That's right.
Coach YAC, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, man. All right. So we've talked, in the past, Florida State fans, most of the people that are watching this who are Florida State fans know a lot about your history and your ties to Louisiana and what you've done as a college coach and recruiter and receivers coach and running backs coach. But why'd you decide to write a book? And real quick, the title of the book is We on Fries. And I think I know the background of that title. It's I've heard you talk about it a little bit before and kind of the role every position group has on a team and accepting your role. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the title and why you decided to write this book?
A little bit about the title, We on Fries, I think goes a little deeper than just about our position. I tell people all the time when I go to numerous places to speak, basically that, whatever your purpose is, whatever God has in your purpose, do that. Be happy in doing that. And that's why I want to title it We on Fries, because with my group, I tell them, we're going to worry about what we have to worry about. Just concentrate on our job. Just be locked in on the things that we need to do as a group. And I tell them all the time, we're not worrying about what's going on with the offensive line, what's going on with the receivers. We have to do our job and do our job at a high level. And basically, we tell them, look, if we worry about fries, it's 3.5 minutes. You want salt or no salt? Keep it basic and do what you're supposed to do.
What I love about that is it's so relatable. Not everybody's worked in a fast food restaurant, but they know what it's like. I think there's a former assistant coach on the FSU basketball team, Charlton Young, CY, who one of his things was everybody can't be Michael Jackson. Somebody's got to be Jermaine. Somebody's got to be Tito, and we can't always be the star. And I think is that kind of part of it. Also, just that the running backs are going to get plenty of glory. Talking about your position group. But some plays are not going to get the glory, but they still have to do their job.
Yeah, and I just think that's important when you can buy into what you're supposed to do, as a person and whatever your role is. And I tell them all the time, just be a superstar in your role. Whatever that role is, learn to be a superstar in that role. And I always tell them about the 3 Ds. First, discover who you are, learn to develop who you are on a daily basis, and put who you are on display. Just be a superstar in your role.
When you've been here now since Coach Norvell got here the last 4 years, and I told somebody just from watching you at practices and just watching you the way you work with your guys that, like, to me you seem like a head coach, and I know you've been a head coach before, but you just kind of, I don't know, you just have that vibe about you that kind of a leadership and kind of somebody setting the direction for your group, but also for other players as well. Is leadership, is that something was that something that came natural to you, or is that something that you learned through your career?
I think I learned it through my career by watching different people, by working with a number of different head coaches. And I think Coach Norvell does a great job allowing us to do that. And our biggest thing is I want to be the head coach of the running backs. I try to, show them that, this is my role. So being the head coach of the running back, that's how I treat it. I want us to be leaders. I want to make sure we're doing things that we're supposed to do. And that's how I approach it.
So now your book, you co-wrote it with Brian W. Smith, who's written many other books as well. Is this somebody you had a relationship with in the past? Kind of how did this project kind of come together?
Well, actually, I've been telling my story, about different things and how I got into coaching for a number of years. And actually, Brian, about 2 years ago, he asked me about writing a book, what I thought about. And I just kind of brushed it off and said, well, I don't know if I have enough time. And then he approached me again and he told me to pray on it. And after, a few months, he told me he would help me. And every Thursday we would talk for an hour. He'd get my ideas and he'd help me with it. We actually went to high school together. He graduated 2 years before me. And his sister Gwen, she actually went to college with me. So we had a really good relationship. And he was really serious about it. First thing he told me that I had to be committed to it. So for whatever that hour was every Thursday, how late it was, he wanted to make sure that happened. And it happened. And he did a great job in ghostwriting this book for me.
And we've got, we'll have the links with the video and the article. People can buy it at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Is there a direct way to buy it also, or is it, or pretty much go through those book?
Amazon. Yeah, Amazon.
Amazon's a good.
Yeah, is probably our biggest.
Okay, great. And so we'll have those links for there as well. And I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I look forward to reading it for sure. But what are some of the things you kind of go into? Is it more your life story, or more some of the wisdom you've gained from your journey?
Actually, it's both. I really went into the part early on. Actually, me and Coach Norvell was talking about it when my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and in 2005 or 2006, and she was put on hospice in 2009. She actually planned her own funeral. She didn't die in 2014.
Wow.
So she was a person who really told me, listen, nothing's going to be fair. It is what it is. You have to kind of go on with life, do the things you need to do. And big role my father had in my life about just having mercy on people and showing people grace. So going through those different things, and actually how I got into college coaching. It was several of us had to evacuate to Oxford, Mississippi. Frank Wilson was like a little brother to me, the running back coach for LSU. He actually had a house for us in Oxford, Mississippi, and there was 24 of us in a 3-bedroom house.
So this is during Katrina?
Yes, right after Katrina hit, we didn't have anywhere to go, and I had a college coach call me, who coached me at Nicholls State. He said that a receiver job opened at Millsaps College, which is 2 hours away from Oxford. And I took the job, but halfway into the trip, he told me I was only going to make $500 a month. So I told him it doesn't matter. As long as I'm over the receivers, I'll take it. And when I got to Jackson, a lot of people don't know, I had nowhere to stay. So I slept in my car for 2 weeks.
Wow.
But my mindset was different. My mindset wasn't, I wasn't homeless. I was just the first person at work.
You couldn't wait to get to work.
Yeah, that's right. Like you say, sometimes you get opportunities. They're not going to be fair, but you just take full advantage of them.
So what are you thinking though at that point of your life, man? You've been a successful, you've been in high school coaching. You've done good things. You're a guy that went to college, and now here you are in this situation. Can you let yourself feel sorry for yourself when you're sleeping in your car, or is it just like, no, more determination?
Yeah, that was the opportunity. I tell people all the time what kind of got me through that. I read the book for the first time, probably like right after Hurricane Katrina, the book, The Secret. And it just told me how powerful my thoughts were. So I just changed my mindset. And I wanted to, coach in college, and this was the opportunity. And I always hear people say, never let your opportunity embarrass you. So that was my opportunity. So I took full advantage of it. In my mind, when I was at Millsaps, it was just like being at Florida State. I thought I was coaching D1 football, and that's how I approached it. I was thankful for it. Now, and the reason I wrote the book to tell a lot of young coaches, just be where your feet are. Be thankful for whatever you have. When people come in my office, as you can see in my background, I have all my family pictures up, because in my mind, this is the only opportunity that I'm gonna ever get. So I'm thankful for it. I'm appreciative that Florida State even considered to hire me. So that's how I approach every day.
And you also weren't, a 21-year-old kid trying to break into college coaching. You already had a wife and family, right?
I had 3 kids and was 30 years old. And my wife actually thought I was crazy when I had to tell her I was making $500 a month. Then after the first week, she found out I was sleeping in my car because they stayed with family. But I understand that God had given me the vision. He didn't give it to my wife. So I just had to rely on him and make it work. And my wife was very instrumental in everything that happened. She came down, got a nursing job to kind of really help us survive, because that $500 was going to help us survive. But she bought into the dream.
So when did you know, okay, this is going to work out? Because I'm sure there were some questions. I mean, you were confident in your abilities, but like, what was the first sign? Okay, man, I'm on my way now.
Well, after the first season, we had only won 2 games, and then Mike DeBose, he actually was our defensive coordinator. And Belhaven, a school across the street, offered me $26,500. They offered me $26,000. So I went to Coach DeBose and said, "Look, Coach, I got a great opportunity across the street to really make some decent money." And I said, they offered me $26,500. And I actually told Nick to keep the nickel. I said, but at the end of the day, Coach DeBose said, "Just be patient, Dave. Be patient. They don't know a lot of people over there." And a month later, Coach DeBose became the head coach. And he paid all of us, right at $30,000. And he really helped me understand how to be a college coach. He helped me with everything. And I stayed there. And my wife actually moved back to New Orleans. So I traveled from New Orleans to Jackson, Mississippi 3 times a week for 3.5 years.
Wow. 3.5 years?
3.5 years. And then going into that last year, I started falling asleep on the road, and I was taking so much 5 hour and different things trying to stay up. I remember welcome to Macomb, and the next thing I remember was you're in Hammond. So that's a 20-minute drive, and I was falling asleep. So I explained to Coach DeBoer, this will be my last year. I had to go back home with my family because it started to be too much. And Coach DeBoer called every college coach to try to hire me. They all laughed and said, I don't even know a David Johnson. Coach, we're not hiring. So, but he tried to help me. And that's when I went back and took the coaching job at St. Augustine High School.
Wow. So, and then how do you get back in? And you obviously were successful. St. Aug's, one of the top high school programs in the country. So then how do you get back into college coaching then?
Well, actually, I went to St. Aug, and nobody really wanted the job. All my friends laughed at me for taking the job. They had won like 5 games maybe in the last 4 or 5 years. But again, I tell people all the time, man, when God leading you, I hit the jackpot. Tyron Matthews is a senior, Leonard Fournette's in the 8th grade, Trey Turner's in the 10th grade, and Lorenzo Dawson's in the 9th grade, and my ball boy, Stanley Morgan. So it all worked out, and that's when I met my first year, 2009, I met Coach Norvell. He was first year at Tulsa. He came through. We talked. And the next year, he invited all the coaches, and they watched me practice. And after that practice, the second year, Coach Norvell said one day he was going to hire me as a college coach. Whenever he got a head job, he was going to hire me. I said, Coach, you don't owe me anything. I just appreciate you recruiting my kids. I left the very next year to go to Tulane University. And when I got to Tulane, Coach CJ, Curtis Johnson, he hired me. And I coached the running backs and the tight ends for 4 years at Tulane. We get fired on a Friday. Coach Norvell get the Memphis job on a Sunday, and me and Dan Landon are the first 2 coaches in Memphis with him.
Wow. So, some of the decisions you've made in your career, and this isn't chronologically, but just kind of throughout your time and going to Tennessee and then coming to Florida State and staying at Florida State. I mean, I know coaching is such a, I guess, volatile business where there's constantly offers and, opportunities. And you said before, like keeping your feet where you are. How do you balance that? Because I think I've heard stories that maybe you've taken jobs for even less money or made decisions, so people that are watching this are making their own career decisions or life decisions. Like what are some of the things that you kind of consider when you're making those life choices?
I think you have to surround yourself by good people, be in a situation where you know the people around you, know the situation around you. And I think every decision that I made, some people may not agree with it. But actually, after my second year at Memphis, I was offered several jobs in the SEC. And actually, Coach Norvell said, it's time, Dave. You have to go somewhere different, find out what's going on, and explore your options. Because I had already turned down 2 or 3 jobs before. And he was like, Dave, you can't keep passing this money up. And I took the job at Tennessee. I really enjoyed myself at Tennessee. I've coached receivers the first year. They came back, coached the running backs. But it was a no-brainer once Coach Norvell got to Florida State for me to come help, try to build this program back up where it should be. And, I enjoyed it. I never regretted that decision. And most people disagree with it, but it was the best decision for me and my family at that time.
So when you look at where, Florida State is right now and kind of the outside has changed, like what's going on inside the program, I'm sure hasn't changed a whole lot. You guys are probably doing a lot of the same things you've been doing since you guys got here, but it's different on the outside when you're 3-6 or 5-7 versus 10-3 and going into a year where now people are talking about Florida State for the playoff. Like what are some of the challenges? What are some of the things you guys are doing to try to kind of keep some of that out?
I think the biggest thing, just keep reminding the kids what God is here is work. Nothing else, no articles. It's about work. It's about continuing to do your job and try to do it at a high level, and you have to understand that you have to continue to push yourself. And I just think that's what the guys are doing right now. We're so player-led right now. Before it was a lot of the coaches trying to motivate, we trying to push. And one thing Coach, Norvell never did, we were 0-4 and he never panicked. Mm-hmm. We never blamed anybody. The coaches got together and said, we have to do better as a coaching staff. We have to put the kids in a better situation. If our kids to be in the program to be 0-4 at one point and nobody goes in the transfer portal, we know, hey, it's going to work out and it's going to happen. And I just always, try to keep a positive attitude, try to coach the kids as hard as we could and put them in the right situation.
When it comes to recruiting, and one of your titles is recruiting coordinator, and you've obviously, had a lot of success as a recruiter. But the game has changed so much now. Like in college football, you have a general manager personnel, you have scouting people, and that's not just at Florida State. It's across the sport because you have the portal, and there's so much going on. How would you evaluate how you guys are recruiting right now at the high school level? Because I think the class is in the top 15 nationally, and you guys are involved with some big time players, but you're not at the top of the national standings. Like, how do you guys feel like you guys have done in recruiting, kind of capitalizing on the 10-win season, and where do you feel like you're at going into this next class?
I think it's always going to be a work in progress. I think we are doing a good job, and what we try to find what's the best fit for us.
Right.
Regardless of what the stars say and different things like that, we have to find the best fit for Florida State. And when you have a head coach like we have, who works extremely hard, who he's out there when recruits are showing up on campus, and I just think that makes a difference. Coach Norvell is the difference maker, and most people understand that. We understand that in this building, and the kids gravitate to that. The parents gravitate to that because he's so approachable, and he's going to work extremely, and he's going to be honest. That's what he tell all of us as recruiters and staff members: be honest with kids. If it's not a good fit, okay, understand. Let's move on and find out whoever's the best fit for us.
So now your running back room, you guys. I mean, it's a stock group. I mean, obviously Trey Benson did what he did last year, but you have Lawrence Toafili. He's been in the offense now for 4 years. You've got these other backs that you did lose Trayshawn Ward, who transferred for another opportunity. But you've got a lot of, Keziah Holmes and CJ Campbell, and you got the freshman Sam Singleton is coming as well. What how do you feel about that group, and how have they kind of taken to the work this summer?
I feel good about them. I
didn't mention Rodney Hill. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Rodney Hill, but I continue to challenge those guys. We try to find out what we need to tweak, how we need to get better. My biggest thing on Trey Benson right now, we want you to catch the ball at the backfield more. We want you to be able to spread out and do different things. And he's accepted that. We want him to trust his speed. Toafili is able to put on more weight. He's gotten stronger. So it's a number of things. And then you get Keziah Holmes, Coco is going to do a really good job. Rodney Hill knows the offense in and out now. The one who you forget about CJ, because he can do it all. One of your best special teams player. And I think the freshman Sam is doing a really good job. He's starting to fit in. They're making him feel a part of the group, but he also understands that it's going to take work. And I want all these guys to be prepared because they never know when the opportunity is going to come.
I've been trying to say this all off season, since last season, and I want you to back me up here. I think you will. Like, LT is not the same guy he was when he came here, right? I mean, I thought some of his runs between the tackles last year were some of the hardest runs you guys had. Talk to
Right.
How far is he coming that way?
Oh, he understands he's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger. And we just talked about that today. We were on him so much going in the Georgia Tech game about we got to make sure he's blocking. And he wanted to make sure he was blocking for Trey on one of those first plays. And he ran through the linebacker. And he was just so surprised to say, well, those are the questions the NFL want to see answered. How tough are you? Can you go between the tackles? Can you block? And to see him do that Georgia Tech game, to see him block during LSU game, we could put him in so many different spots. And he knows he's probably going to touch the ball maybe 10 times, but 7 has to be explosive plays. And he understands his role. So he's a leader in that room. He gets those guys going. He's a quiet leader, but he does it by example.
To me, and he also kind of exemplifies what you talked about earlier, the fact that you guys haven't had a lot of guys transfer out, maybe that haven't had the opportunities that maybe they could have somewhere else. I mean, it has happened here and there. There are certain guys, but LT to me is a guy that he probably could have gone to a lot of different places over these last 4 years, but he stayed here. Why has he said that he's done that?
I think the trust factor. We was always honest with him. We went through a lot together when him first coming in, and I think he just trusts the staff. He trusted his role, and he's enjoying it here. And he's becoming a leader off the field. That's one of the biggest things LT talk about all the time, just the academic side. He's been doing really good in school, so he fits here. He's helping us recruit and do different things, and I'm just so glad that he did stay. He had an opportunity to probably go to a number of places, but he didn't entertain it. And in this day and time, that's hard. They're throwing a lot of money at different kids. And when you have kids that say, they're dedicated to the program, they're going to stay, you just have to appreciate that.
And I got to ask you about your guy, Destin Hill, because, it's been a long journey. He obviously signed with you in 2021, big-time recruit. He finally gets here now, and you've been kind of encouraged people to be patient. You thought this day would come. What's it been like for you to see him out there? We're starting to hear buzz about what he's doing out there and some of the player run stuff and some of the summer conditioning and practices you guys are done. As a coach and as somebody who guides young men, like what's it feel like seeing him out there?
I think it's a really good feeling. This kid was determined to be here. When he get here, he's just taking it to the next level. He's running, doing everything that you ask him to do. Everybody's in the building just so happy with his attitude, what type of kid he is. And I just think Bryce Brown, his head coach at Edna Carr High School, he pushes those kids. And he understands the difference that they have to make once they get to this level. And he's playing. He's trying to put himself in position where he can play this year, regardless of special teams, whatever. He wants to be on the field. And I think with having Greedy here really helps him out. It helps him out a lot. They both from the same high school, and they cut from the same cloth. They're about work. So, he allows us to push him and coach him on.
Is rust a real thing in football? Because he hasn't played a game in a couple of years. I know he's been in shape, but he hasn't played in games. Is that a concern, or is that something that we kind of make up a bigger deal about as fans and media?
No, obviously it's probably a concern early on, but now he's in the back of the floor of things. He's catching balls, catching punts, catching kickoffs, and he's enjoying it. He embraces it. And one thing they do in that weight room at Coach Storm, they're pushing him. And we push him, outside of practice, making sure he's coming up, doing the things he needs to do to know how to prepare. But other than that, this kid's embracing it, and that's what you want.
All right, going back to where we started. So the book is We Got Fries. If there's
We on Fries.
I'm sorry, We on Fries. I'm sorry, man. Did I mess up the first time too, or did I just mess up that time?
No.
Okay. Thanks for correcting. We on Fries. What if you're giving it to somebody in your family or a friend? What would be like something that you think that they need to take away for it, or does it depend on who the person is?
I think the biggest thing I try to let people take away from this, just be a blessing to someone else. That's got to be the ultimate goal. And your gift is not for you. Once I realized my gift was not for me, it's for other people. Life, it's been good for me, and I go through life with understanding only two things happen to you, and that's lessons and blessings. So I try to keep it moving. And I try to encourage people. I try to especially encourage young people because I know how tough it is. Me and Rodney just finished talking about how that first year was extremely tough, but he got through it. So that's why he's helping Sam. So when I tell people when they're reading this book, it's a journey, it's a part of it. And don't be scared of the process. It is a process. And it's going to take you a minute. You have to start at a Millsaps. You're not going to start out at Florida State. That's a part of it. And I just thank God that he allowed me to go through that process and meet all the number of coaches I had a chance to meet. And I talk about a lot of the coaches, my middle school coach, George Haynes, my high school coach, Leroy Walker. Those guys, did a good job of pouring into me. And I just don't want to let them down.
Well, it's awesome, man. I really look forward to reading it, and I hope people that watch this go buy it. It's available at Amazon, and I think other places as well, but go check it out at Amazon. And I'm looking forward to it, man, because I like one of the joys of my job is getting to watch you guys coach and the way you guys lead people, and I particularly like the way you do it. I enjoy watching you coach, and I really look forward to reading the book and kind of getting some more of those life lessons, and appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about it, Coach, and good luck with it, and we look forward to seeing you get up on that bestseller list here soon.
Hey, I really appreciate you guys having me. Definitely grateful for you having me on there, and thank you. Anything I could do to help, just let me know.
Thanks, Coach. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.